Hello, welcome to this edition of The Guys, your place for fantasy football analysis and expertise. I'm your host, the Fantasy Doctor. With me as always, The Guys. To my right, Big Red, Mr. Mark Down.
Just win.
To his right, the smartest man on the panel, the Professor, Mr. Ryan Alt. Welcome back. To my left, a man who paints in fantasy anger, the artiste, Mr. Jay Greenwald.
Go green.
And joining us this week, Mr. Kyle Marchand.
Glad to be back, guys.
Happy to have you, Kyle. So we're going to get this show started. Last week was week 1. There was a lot of guys who had breakout performances. Very exciting week. The NFL's going to be very happy with it. You guys, I want to talk about booms. I want to talk about guys that blew up last week. In your opinion, these are guys that had the huge week, and maybe you keep them, maybe you don't, but I just want to know who was a boom. Mr. Marchand, let's start with you.
I'll go with Jameis Winston. 281 and 4 touchdowns. That's the good part. The even better part is 8 wide receivers caught touchdown passes this week. Showing some maturity in his second year. Really looks like he's grown up and has a full grasp of the offense.
Jameis Winston, I like it. Had a huge week. In for a tougher matchup this week, however. Let's go to you, Professor. Boom of. Let's go with quarterback. Boom at quarterback this week.
I think very obvious one we have Drew Brees, 423 yards, 4 touchdowns. Very important. He had 0 picks, which also increased the value of Brandon Cooks. And I expect really him to keep doing that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and they've got a great matchup this week against the Giants, and everybody expects that to be just a major shootout. Let's stick with quarterback booms. Big Red.
To me, it's Matthew Stafford. I mean, we kind of expected some good numbers out of Brees. Stafford's one of those guys that you were picking as a wide receiver, a quarterback too. Came up with a huge week. I mean, he had tape, caught every single ball that was thrown to him. I mean, he had guys out of the backfield. This was a guy that we kind of had some questions about. I know not everybody on this panel liked him. Looked like a world beater, and you got him as your backup, which is a great it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, and actually, I love Stafford because of, as we talked about in prior shows, the last 8 weeks of last season, the guy was just on fire. Jim Bob Cooter. I thought you were going to do that. Jim Bob Cooter has really brought RT slow on the draw there. No, Jim Bob Cooter has really brought some amazing things, not only to Lions, but particularly Stafford. I mean, this is a guy who, prior to last season, a lot of people were writing off, and I think his career was a little bit in jeopardy. Jim Bob Cooter is bringing him a chance to maybe resurrect some of that and change some of the legacy that's followed him around. Let's move on to running backs. I'm gonna cut to you first, Artiste. Who's your boom running back of the week?
Well, first of all, I just want to talk about the fact that next time I will bring the banjo, so there'll be very little or no delay. For me, there's nobody that really stood out other than maybe C.J. Anderson. And I hate to say that because Big Red called that shit, and I wasn't so much on board, but C.J. Anderson was a badass last week.
Yeah, C.J. Anderson, a huge week. And I think a lot of us didn't call that, and you're exactly right that Big Red did say C.J. Anderson in a huge week last week for Denver. Let's kick down to you, Professor. Your boom running back of week 1.
Oh, well, I'm going to go along with Matt Stafford and say Theo Riddick. I think for the Detroit Lions, he looked great. 7 carries, 5 receptions, 108 total yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 receiving touchdown. Amir Abdullah also in that offense. He looked pretty good. So both running backs for the Detroit Lions. I know it's only week 1. I'm not going to get too excited about it, but I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen this week against Tennessee.
Yeah, do you think there's any chance that Theo Riddick takes over the running job from Amir Abdullah?
I don't think so. Amir Abdullah, he is the number 1 guy. I think they have very, very similar stats. Unless he gets hurt, Theo Riddick's value will skyrocket. But right now, they're going to share carries, and I think they're both in for a pretty good year.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched the game, I thought Theo Riddick looked like the better back even between the tackles. So I was just curious. Well, which, by the way, guys, I was remiss that I didn't introduce Bianca, our beer girl. She's going to be coming in and out and making sure that we're full and refreshed She looks nice and she's very knowledgeable about football. When she's not, she's going to give you information that maybe you don't want to follow, but she's going to look nice. So that's beyond that's beyond you guys. Let's go to you, Mr. Marchand.
I'm going to say Lamar Miller, a guy that we thought was going to have a big year in Houston and produced in week 1. Got 28 touches, 106 yards, didn't find the end zone week 1, but with that amount of chances and those types of numbers, he's going to find the end zone. As long as they keep feeding him the rock that way, I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, and it really is about touches at the running back position, and he is their bell cow. I mean, he touches the football and gets it. Big Red finishes up. Booms, running back.
Yeah, the guy that you guys are gonna hate on this, but to me, D'Angelo Williams, fantastic. 170 total yards. I mean, got in the end zone twice. In a game that it looked like Washington was gonna be able to bottle him up, but they just kept feeding him the rock. He may keep that job even when Le'Veon Bell comes back.
Yeah, and we talked about the guys on prior shows that maybe D'Angelo Williams keeps that job post Le'Veon Bell coming back. I mean, he looked that good last season. He's looked that good in the limited action preseason in game 1. He just blew it out of the park again. Le'Veon Bell, a guy with problems obviously on and off the field, drug problems, suspensions. I wouldn't be surprised at all if D'Angelo Williams keeps that job. Guys, wide receiver Booms, quickly. We'll start back with you, Mr. Marchand.
I'll avoid what everyone else is going to say, but I'll go Willie Snead. 172 yards receiving and a touchdown. 9 catches on 9 targets. Now, we talk about targets and snaps. This guy got everything thrown to him by Drew Brees and put up huge numbers week 1. Looks like a legit wide receiver 2 in a New Orleans offense that's going to put up huge numbers all year.
Yeah, and I agree. 9 for 9. That's very impressive, much like E.L. Rogers, 6 for 7. I think getting the targets is important, but catching them is more important. Who cares about how many targets they get? I mean, we do care, but really the stats come and the points come from catching the football. Willie Snead, I like it. Let's kick it down to you, Professor. Your boom wide receiver week 1.
A little surprising to me, he fell down the draft boards during the preseason, but Larry Fitzgerald, he had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know he fell down the draft boards. Somebody that got him late. I think they're pretty happy, and I think this might be more to come with Larry Fitzgerald.
It reminds me of Monty Python. The guy comes out, I'm not quite dead yet. That's Larry Fitzgerald. Because guys, every year that we think Larry Fitzgerald is dead, and every year he gets drafted low, and every year he's just an absolute fantasy stud. Big Red, you're up. Wide receiver.
I'm going to go with the obvious one. To me, I think, can we just stop with the fucking Revis Island? I mean, he hasn't looked that good last year. And I think if you're AJ Green, you're sitting on the beach at halftime drinking fucking Mai Tais on that island. He absolutely owned him last week. And to me, if you're going to beat Revis Island, we talked about this at the beginning. He might finish as the number 1 wide receiver. Professor called that from preseason.
Yeah,
and it looks like it's good.
Great call by Professor. And I agree. He planted not a flag. I think he built a village on Revis Island.
Sure.
And I don't know that they're ever going to get him off Revis Island. And they're having children and the whole thing. It's going to be a whole population of AJ Greens on Revis Island after that. Artiste, your last finish us up on wide receiver boom week 1.
First of all, I'd like to say I apologize because, AJ Green, did a little better than I thought on Revis Island. He did make camp there and have good times. I think he had some ladies there, and it was all good. But for me, it'd be for this week, it'd be Stephon Diggs, just because he didn't do anything amazing. But I mean, for him to have the numbers that he had in the situation they had in Minnesota with Sean Hill at quarterback, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised by it. I mean, the guy, I think he has a lot of talent. But I really thought it was going to make it tough on him when Bridgewater went down. For him to have the numbers that he had really surprised me. And I think for him, that was a good week for him.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs, a guy who had an amazing preseason. When Teddy Bridgewater was there, this was a guy that everybody was extremely high on. He still looked like a stud, over 100 yards in game 1. I agree with that. I think Stephon Diggs is somebody that, if he's out there, he probably isn't. This is the guy who's probably drafted, maybe in the later rounds. But if he's still there, this is a guy you need to grab. And this is also a guy that I think you can buy at this point. I think he's still, a lot of guys aren't buying in. I like Stephon Diggs. I think he's a guy that you should go grab. He should be on your team. He's on mine. Guys, let's talk about busts. With every guy that kills it, there's other guys, especially guys that we drafted high, that had terrible week one. But I want to go further than just the bust. I want to hear about your bust. And then I want to hear, is it time to panic? Because it's only week one. But week one does tell us a lot about guys. So let's hear about your bust. And I'm going to start with you, Big Red.
We talked a lot about this on the preseason. Devontae Freeman was a guy that I hated. I know some people on this panel liked him a little more than others. And we also preached to make sure if you take Devontae Freeman. I'm not pointing fingers, but if you grab Tevin Coleman like you should have, if you watched our show, you're okay because Tevin Coleman looks like the man. He looked like the man last year in the preseason. And Devontae Freeman looks like he's dead. If you can trade that on name alone, I think if you can grab at least a wide receiver 1, maybe even wide receiver 2, it's time to sell.
Right, but we're not necessarily doing sell yet, but bust with week one. So Devontae Freeman is your bust from week one?
I think he's the bust of all year. But
now you know, Tevin Coleman, Devontae did look better in the preseason. I know preseason doesn't mean that much and it's a long season, but yeah, so far Devontae Freeman looks basically like a corpse. Let's go to you, Professor. Your bust week one.
I hate to say it, but Adrian Peterson looked pretty bad week one. 19 attempts, 31 yards. Again, I just think the situation of the quarterback there, I think it really hurts his value. I don't think moving forward we're going to have a problem. AP, he always succeeds. He's going to get his yards. He's going to get his touchdowns. A little disappointed though week one for sure.
Yeah, I think anybody who owns AP definitely disappointed in week one. I think you're going to see a lot of that this season, unfortunately, guys. I think they're going to put 8-9 men in the box. They don't necessarily have a quarterback at this point. We do like Stephon Diggs as an outlet, but I think AP might struggle. I don't know. We're going to see going forward. It's interesting that we're talking about bust, and here's Bianca. Let's kick it down to you, Mr. Marchand.
Outside of Keenan Allen's ACL, because that's gone, I'll go with Sammy Watkins. Now, a Buffalo defense versus Baltimore that should have done more. 4 catches, 43 yards, 6 targets. Just didn't see that game-breaking, stretching the field, deep threat that you expected out of Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is a guy who should be seeing the end zone 8 to 10 times in the season, projected, and you just didn't see it at all this game, and I'm worried.
Well, I mean, they keep saying, though, that he's not healthy. I mean, they say that the surgically repaired foot is not quite there. I'm wondering if Sammy Watkins is going to do anything all season.
And that's the scary thing. Does at some point do they sit him down for 2 weeks to try to get him healthy, or does he keep playing at 70-80% and he doesn't produce all season?
Yeah, if I had Sammy Watkins in my teams, and fortunately I don't, I'd be very concerned. I don't think the foot's right. I don't think that I would hold on to him if I had him. Sammy Watkins, Bianca traded Sammy Watkins yesterday. Smarter than the whole panel. Let's move on, guys, to buy high, buy low, sell high, guys. It's only week one, but everybody in fantasy loves to trade. It's time, and we're going to teach you all season long which guys to grab, which guys to let go of. And quite frankly, when a guy has a breakout game, but you don't think that he's going to do it the rest of the year, it's time to get rid of him. Vice versa, if you think a guy is getting ready to bust out, that's when you grab him. So I'm going to start with you, Professor. Give me your buy low guy.
He had a pretty bad week. We've talked about him a couple times. Phillip Rivers, 243 yards, 1 touchdown. It was pretty pedestrian, really. He does have some weapons. He did lose Keenan Allen. But I think with Travis Benjamin jumping into the number 1 wide receiver role there, I think he's going to be just fine. I think at the end of the year, he'll be a top 10 quarterback. I still believe that. So I think you could trade for him maybe now. Maybe somebody's not ready to get rid of him yet. But I think he's a guy you keep your eye on. You might be able to scoop up.
And you think Travis Benjamin's going to be the number 1 guy there?
I think he's going to be the number 1 guy, and I think they're going to probably bring in some veteran presence, I would assume, at wide receiver.
Okay. Let's kick it down to you, Mr. Marchand. Your buy low.
I'll go TJ Yeldon. And it's not so much that I like what Jacksonville's doing offensively, but had 25 touches week 1, saw the end zone, And with Chris Ivory at the hospital for non-football related something that no one seems to know about, is going to be out at least week 2, maybe week 3. He's going to continue to see 20, 25, maybe more touches a game as a guy who was projected as a flex guy. If you can snag him for that flex value and you can chug him into a running back 2 spot, I think you're going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, I heard he broke his pancreas. What's the word there? Big Red, you're buy low.
Yeah, to me, my focus is on Danny Woodhead. Unlike some folks here, last year when Rivers lost Keenan Allen, they went from averaging 26.7 fantasy points a game down to 18. Yes, he made Malcolm Floyd look like a world beater last year, but he still was averaging 8 points less. Melvin Gordon saw the field on 35% of the plays and scored 2 touchdowns. They were up 21 points, and their point per reception running back was on the field for double the amount of snaps. He's a guy that is going to absolutely pick up some extra receiving yards because Keenan Allen's hurt. He's a guy that was already playing when they were up by 3 scores, so you don't have to worry about them trying to pound the rock without him. To me, that's the guy that you go grab. I think he's a plug and play as a running back too, and I think you can get him for bench value.
Yeah, Danny Wood had 5 more snaps this week than Melvin Gordon. I think that's telling. They also ran Danny Woodhead quite a bit more than I expected. I mean, normally when we see Danny Woodhead, we expect receptions out of the backfield. Not this week as much. I mean, he was running between the tackles. He looks like their number 1 guy. I mean, Melvin Gordon did have the 2 scores, but Danny Woodhead looks like the guy that they're counting on. Artis, finish this up. You're buy low.
Well, I mean, these guys fucked me over because they took everybody already. So I got nobody else to buy low. I can only go so low. But no, I would like to comment though on Big Red though, what he said, because I love me some Danny Woodhead, okay? Now, first of all, I like him in
He's probably single. You want me to make a phone call?
Could you call him? Could you call him?
I could probably
He
get him.
does give Woodhead.
I mean,
Is that correct?
Hey,
Woodhead?
I mean,
We're gonna have to fight over it.
and Bianca, he's good looking. So.
Right, I know. Nice guy too, from what I hear.
Oh.
Anywho, I do love him in a standard league, but in a PPR, the guy's off the freaking charts. In my league, I wanted this guy so bad, but there was a guy in our league who was like in love with him. You think that? Hey, yeah, you think I'm in love with him? You're in love with him? I got a guy who's more in love with him. And I wanted to get him for good value late, and this guy took him so early, and it was just, it wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to take him that early, but I love him. In a PPR, he's ridiculous. For me, I guess I'm gonna go with Rashad Jennings. I mean, I don't think this is a guy who's going to, do anything. He's not going to be gangbusters. But the fact that now that you've got Beckham and Cruz in the lineup, I do believe they got a decent offensive line that's improved a little bit.
Sure.
Those guys are going to open that up a little bit for Rashad Jennings. A lot of these, this is a guy who was not, in my league, no one picked this guy up. This is a guy who may be available, or maybe he's on your bench, but I like Rashad Jennings.
Yeah, Rashad Jennings with an ADP in the 80s to 100 in most things. So you're absolutely right. I don't think Rashad will still be sitting out there in a lot of leagues, but he certainly, as the segment said, was buy low. Guys, I'm going to do a quick hitter. Let's go down the row. My quick hitter for this subject, over/under on the New York Giants, New Orleans Saints game. Last year, these guys combined put up 101 points. It was the 3rd highest points put up in NFL history. The over/under is 53. As Mr. Marchand has pointed out many times to me, that Vegas must know something that we don't. However, over/under, New Orleans Giants, 53. And I'll start with you, Professor. We'll go down the row.
Over, no question.
Over, they're in the 70s for sure.
Over.
I'll go under, just because Vegas knows something we don't.
And we're going to rub that in next week to Mr. Marchand, or he's going to rub it in back to us. Miss Bianca, over/under 53 points.
Can I pick in between?
Sure. Bianca calls it a tie.
It's a tweener.
Bianca calls it a tie. And to get to 53, we're going to have maybe some, if they tie, it's going to be some half points, right? Which I like. That's a good call. If Vegas will let you bet that, put the house on it.
Strong.
Strong. All right, guys, sell high. Big Red, I'm going to start with you. Who do you sell high?
To me, if you can get rid of Theo Riddick this week, 12 touches, 2 scores. You are not going to see that consistently. You don't get to play the Colts every single week. The guy is not the main ball carrier. And just like Melvin Gordon with 2 scores, playing less than 20% of the snaps, if you can get anything for Theo Riddick this week, I think you ship him.
Now that's a guy who doesn't believe in Jim Bob Cooter. Artis is just not there. Yes, the pause.
Keep saying Joe.
We're gonna get the Jim Bob Cooter references in, trust me, only because it makes me happy. Big Red wants to sell Theo Riddick high. On to you, Artis, you're up.
Well, I know this, most of the panel is not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, we hate it.
Right.
I'm with you. I'm on your side.
Kyle likes it down here.
We'll get to Mr. Marchand.
Mr. Marchand, listen.
Tell us why you hate Matt Stafford.
Well, I'm just a hater. I'm just a Matthew Stafford hater. I'll admit it. Now, I will say this. After this past week and what happened at the end of last year, I will say that I'm a little bit cautious about this because I am starting to wonder whether Jim Bob. But
No, it's not the same as you reference them and then you do the sound.
Okay,
It's gotta be
my bad. I'll throw away
someone
the banjo.
else. We're gonna-
I'll throw away the banjo.
There needs to be a little pre-prep for the show.
Sure. But anyway, I am starting to wonder a little bit because I'm starting to wonder if this guy might be the real deal. Maybe finally now Jim Bob Cooter has this guy where he needs to be and he's going to start to finally produce like a number 1 overall draft pick. But I'm still going to say no. And I'm still going to say this week, I do feel like he's going to have a big letdown. He's at home. It's the Titans. It's supposed to be, look what he did last week. I think this week he's going to lay an egg.
All right, as long as we're, guys, this show is based out of Michigan, so we're well versed with the Lions. There's apparently a lot of hate for Mr. Stafford, and as long as we're going to keep going with that, we might as well kick down to Mr. Marchand.
I'll agree. Matt Stafford was my number 1 sell high guy, but I'll go down the list a little bit. I'll say DeMarco Murray. 77 total yards, but scored twice on 18 touches. So significantly less touches than a guy like TJ Yeldon. Yes, he saw the end zone. I don't have a lot of faith in Tennessee. Going to face a tough defense running the ball against Detroit this week. I think if you can ship him out now before he takes that big step back, he's a good move.
I like that one a lot. I don't like the Stafford call so much. I believe in Matt Stafford this year. The last 8 games of last year, the guy was a stud. Week 1 of this year, he's a stud. That's 9 games in a row. That works for me. I will say on DeMarco Murray, I think Derrick Henry's going to have that job, guys. He's a guy that I would definitely sell high just because I think in 4 or 5 weeks, he's going to be struggling to stay in the starting lineup.
Red's not happy with that.
Red, and I'm glad that it's Red's not, glad that it's Big Red's, it's not his turn. I'll say that. Let's go to you, Professor, sell high guy.
Maybe not necessarily this week. Maybe this week it's up to you. But Arian Foster, he went into Seattle. He had 100 total yards. Going into Seattle, that's great. Arian Foster, great name. He's had some great seasons, but he's going to get hurt. It's going to happen. I mean, you might want to wait a week or two, wait till he puts up some solid stats, but he's going to get hurt, so trade him away.
He is from Italy. He's fragile. I agree.
Yes, he is.
Big Red, I'm going to give you the last word before we move on. It looked like you were chomping at the bit. In fact, I think I saw a little blood trickle out of the corner of your mouth there from biting your cheek. Give us what you were going to say.
It's not blood. It's just
DeMarco Murray.
It's just ginger hype. So, DeMarco Murray.
I heard you guys do bleed different.
That's right. Apparently, you have no soul. You gotta bleed different. He has the 4th highest total of plays out of any of the running backs that are out there. 75% of the snaps, DeMarco Murray's on the field. He only got 18 carries. He saw 2 passing touchdowns. We're ready to sell the farm on a guy that looked like a world beater 2 years ago, went to Philly, the entire dumpster fire that was Cleveland East. Well, Philly made DeMarco Murray look bad. This is the guy that there's 0 chance. You saw in week 1 what they thought about Derrick Henry. He caught all kinds of passes out of the backfield. He looks like he's running it hard. They got something going in Tennessee. To me, I'm buying DeMarco Murray. I'm buying when Kyle's selling. Give it to her all over.
I like it. And I know that you guys are in a league together because I'm in the same one. And I would love you get DeMarco from
I wouldn't draft him, so he's not
Marchand. And I tell you what, I like this trade because I like to see what happens. And I'll be right. Let's go to waiver targets, guys. Obviously, a big part of the season is not who you draft, it's who you pick up. This is the key to coaching your team to a championship. Waiver targets are huge. We're going to help you with that every week. I'm going to start with you, Professor, your waiver target. Give me your top two.
I'm gonna kind of stick to wide receivers because I think there's a lot of wide receivers out there that you can pick up. I like Mike Wallace out of Baltimore. He only had 3 receptions, he had 1 long touchdown, but I think that's going to be his MO for the whole year. I think Steve Smith, Jr., Senior, whatever he is, he's going to. He's going to get the main targets, but Mike Wallace streaking down the field, I think it's going to be very good for the big arm Flacco. So if you need somebody at wide receiver, I like him. And we haven't mentioned him yet, and I'm kind of surprised, but Will Fuller, 11 targets, 107 yards, a touchdown in Houston, with DeAndre Hopkins being double teamed, with them trying to get a running game going. You got kind of single coverage out there on the outside with Will Fuller, and I think you're going to be very, very happy come playoff time with him.
Yes, Steve Smith Sr., it reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm not dead yet, because everybody thinks every year the guy just keeps coming back. And I do remember when he started his career that he was not Steve Smith Sr., he was just Steve Smith, and now he's Steve Smith Sr., so I don't know, maybe in a couple years we're going to call him something different, because apparently he'll just keep playing. Big Red, you're up. We'll go down the road.
Yeah, to me, I mean, if you're looking at a guy, Keenan Allen, I think wide receiver is a great place to start. There's a lot of injuries. Des Bryant looks rough, so you're going to need to pick something up. To me, it's Tajay Sharp. Again, I have a little bit of love for Tennessee. Maybe some other people don't. Plenty of targets. I mean, he caught 7 passes last week. I think he's going to be a target hog this week again in Detroit. They couldn't stop anyone. They gave up scores last week in Detroit to Dorsett, Moncrief, and Hilton didn't score last week. He was about the only one. So he's a guy that I absolutely love. And I'm loving me some Chris Hogan too. When Garoppolo can make you look like you belong in the NFL, I can't imagine how good Brady's going to make that guy look.
Yeah, I like Tajay Sharp a lot too. 11 targets last week against the Vikings. This week he gets the Lions. The Lions gave up the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers last week. Not traditionally ever good against the pass. I like Tajay Sharp a lot as well. Let's just move down the road.
I like, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I like me some Garoppolo. I'm telling you, this guy, so New England.
You brought the hat from last week, the Dunks hat, right?
Yeah. Sure. Let's bring that in, because I do.
Last week is Grunt, this week he was Garoppolo. I love it.
Right.
Garoppolo, tell me about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Although I did get the lock of the week. Did New England win? Yeah.
That's true.
Just wanted to double check that. But anyway,
Nice
I think they have 3 straight home games, the next 3. And, he's got his time to shine. Brady's going to be back after that. I just think I think he's all right. I think he's going to be okay the next few weeks, and he's going to have some big games. Being at home, they don't play, everybody they play, they do play Houston, pretty good defense, but everybody else to me is, the average at best defensively.
He really did play well in week 1. And he's filled in admirably, I think, every time he's been in for the Patriots. This is a system we've talked many times on this panel and amongst ourselves at the pub, whether Tom Brady is the GOAT or not. And one of the biggest knocks on Tom Brady being the GOAT is that these guys step in this system and look like Tom Brady. And Jimmy Garoppolo, not exactly like Tom Brady last week. It's certainly not as hot a wife, but he looked a lot like Tom Brady last week. If he can do it again, I like the pick. Mr. Marchand.
I'll give you 2. The first one, Traveris Cadet. Any offense that puts up 500 plus yards, I'm looking to see who's getting touches, who's seeing the field. This guy could be running back number 2 on your roster, plug and chug, and he's available in 99.8% of leagues.
Not after you just told him that, Mr. Marchand.
You can get this guy for free. Go get him. Now, next guy I like, and I'll go to quarterback, Brock Osweiler. Houston looks like they can really move the ball. They've got threats all over the field, whether it's Lamar Miller in the backfield. I like what they've got. Red touched on some of the wide receivers already. That team looks legit. Their coaching staff, Bill O'Brien, known for coaching quarterbacks up. That team should move the ball a lot. He's a guy who, if you're looking for a quarterback to replace some of the guys who have been hurt, not looking good. You had Romo, you had, Tyrod Taylor or somebody like that, and you're looking for a bench guy, he's a good pickup.
Yeah, I think the weapons there at wide receiver are pretty sick. I mean, I'm not saying the five of us could throw to these guys. Bianca could probably throw to these guys. I don't know the five, but probably. I mean, he definitely has the weapons. Osweiler stepped into a fantastic system there. Guys, nobody talked about, and I want to mention him because I know he's the hot pick on the internet and all their shows that you might listen to that aren't near as much fun as this one is, and that's Will Fuller. Nobody mentioned Will Fuller as a waiver wire pickup, and I know he's the hot pick. I'm going to go down the road really quickly. Just get your thoughts on Will Fuller. I mean, is the height, and we'll do it as a quick hitter, is the height there for Will Fuller? Are you buying in? And I'll start at this side this time and go Mr. Marchand.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of rookie wide receivers this year, but he's maybe top of the class.
You think he's cream of the crop?
Yeah.
You buying in?
I am buying it. I mean, listen, he's not going to do, like what he did probably last week, every week. He's going to have some setbacks, but I do think he's the real deal. I think he's going to be helped out by DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Miller. Like you said, I think he's going to have a hell of a rookie year. I think he is the real deal. Now, he is going to have some setbacks. He's not going to be, a monster, but he is going to have a damn good year, I do believe.
And this show's going to come out on Saturday, guys, and hopefully you're watching Saturday and into Sunday morning. So, and I'm sure Will Fuller, most waiver wires go off Wednesday evening, Thursday morning. Will Fuller's probably gone. But it's interesting to hear from the panel to see if you picked him up, do you have something? And if you didn't get him, do you not feel that badly about it? Will Fuller, you buying in?
I liked him so much, he's on my roster after the draft. I mean, this is a guy I went out and targeted. He looked that good.
Big Red with the prescience.
Me too. I have on my roster. He fits the exact mold that I look for. When you have a really big name, number one guy, legit number one, the number two guy, he's going to get a lot of targets in single coverage. 11 targets week one. I expect more.
Yeah, I buy into Will Fuller too. If you were able to pick him up, stud. If you were as awesome as these guys, and they are awesome, which is why they're on the panel, and you already have them, you're in for a great season. Will Fuller's going to do big things this year. Guys, I want to do a quick hitter. The LA Rams are a mess. As far as I'm concerned, the wheels have came off already. They're not coming off. These wheels are off. This vehicle does not move anymore. They're in for a terrible year. Your two quarterbacks are Keenum and Goff. Case Keenum and Jared Goff. Is it time to downgrade Todd Gurley? And instead of a quick hitter where I just get the quick answers, I'll take one or two sentences. Is it time to downgrade Todd Gurley? And I'll start with you, Mr. Marchand.
The LA Rams are atrocious. Not only do I downgrade Gurley, I downgrade Tavon Austin. I downgrade anybody that you thought you might have something there. Goff didn't even get to dress week one. They put in Sean Mannon as the backup, and I get it. Jeff Fisher's a terrible football coach. But you drafted the kid number one overall, and you don't even dress him week one? Unacceptable.
You didn't watch Hard Knocks and find out that he's actually a good football coach?
No.
No Hard Knocks? No, they didn't
I
say-
watched Hard Knocks, and it
Made you think he was worse. I got it.
reaffirm my thoughts on Jeff Fisher.
I got it. Artis, time to downgrade Gurley.
I think it is. I mean, first of all, I didn't have him as high as most people had him rated in the first place. I mean, I'm not talking about a lot. I'm just talking about maybe one or two picks. But I do think it is time to downgrade him after what we saw last week. There is nothing else there. I heard a rumor that LA tried to move back to St. Louis, and they said, fuck you. So, I mean, that tells you something right there. But anywho.
That actually would not surprise me. I mean, it is that kind of dumpster fire there. I think Cleveland's trying to do the same thing with the Browns. They can give them back if they could.
Sure.
I agree with that. Big Red, I know that you were really high on Gurley prior to the season. In fact, he was your number one. Obviously, you didn't know that there was going to be this sort of mess. Time to downgrade Todd Gurley.
Well, I think you're foolish if you don't downgrade him. I still like him as a running back one. I actually think he's a great buying opportunity. Owners forget that things happen from week to week. Yes, he was an absolute dumpster fire last week, but that whole team was awful. It's a late game on Monday Night Football. They're going to get it fixed. He's probably still going to get you 1,100, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. And if you can get him now from somebody who's pushing the panic button, and you get him on the cheap, I'd still pick him up. He's still a plug-and-play running back one for me unless he gets hurt.
I like it. 1,100 yards, 10 TDs. I've got it written down. We'll see at the end of the season. I'm not disagreeing. I just, guys, when they make statements that are strong like that, and we all make strong statements, let's write them down. I hope you write them down at home, and we're gonna. If he's right, he gets all the kudos. If he's wrong, we have a hat. It's coming. Let's go down to you, Professor. Finish this up. Time to downgrade Gurley.
I think you have to downgrade him just because the team around him is pretty awful. I think we've already covered that. But he's still a great talent. I think he's going to have some games where he's going to score a couple touchdowns, have over 100 yards. But I just don't think he's going to put up the numbers to be a top 5 running back. If you can get him, great. That'd be fantastic. I wouldn't give up too much for him, but you have to downgrade.
Miss Bianca, do you downgrade Todd Gurley?
Can I upgrade?
You can upgrade him, yes. Yes. The Rams love Miss Bianca because she's going to upgrade him.
Right.
Yes, you can upgrade. You can upgrade Gurley. Gurley's upgraded to Bianca. The rest of us, I'm going to downgrade him as well. Todd Gurley's, except for Big Red. Big Red said 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. We'd all take that out of our RB1. I think Gurley's in trouble. I think they're gonna. They have nothing else to stop on that team. He's gonna face 8, 9 men boxes all season long. I think he struggles. Not quite the guy that we thought he was going in. I wouldn't want him as a number 1, knowing what I know now. A quick hitter, one more time, guys, before we move on to takeaways from week 2 and from week 1 and looking forward. Matt Ryan had a great week, guys. Where did that come from? Matt Ryan finished 6th as a quarterback this week in fantasy. So I want to know, I mean, 2 years ago, this was the guy everybody wanted on their fantasy team. So is Matt Ryan back? And I'll start at this end. Professor, is Matt Ryan back?
He certainly is in week 2. He's facing Oakland's defense, who gave up 419 pass yards. He's always in that same area. He's in the Tony Romo, Eli Manning area. You know, they can have some great games. They're going to perform. Yeah, he's around the 10th best quarterback in the league. I don't think he's going to be top 5, but you can do a lot worse.
Were you surprised by his 6th overall quarterback rating last week in fantasy points?
No, he still has Julio Jones. He still has a couple, running backs, Devontae Freeman, the other guy over there. But he's got some weapons, and they pass the ball. So no, I'm not really surprised.
Big Red, is Matt Ryan back?
They call him Matty Ice for one reason. Is because he sat on your bench last week and put up a monster. And you're going to start him this week against a shitty Oakland defense. You're going to get kicked in the nuts so hard that you're going to need that ice for your balls until Tuesday morning. To me, he's going to absolutely soil the sheets this week. And you're going to be pissed because you started him and you thought, man, love me some Matty Ice. But just get your bag ready. Just tuck it up in there. They'll feel okay on Tuesday morning.
I mean, if he does that poorly, maybe Matt will come to your house and take care of you.
No.
Frozen peas, I don't know. He could probably bring something to help you out. We're gonna move on. To the Artiste. Is Matt Ryan back?
Well, first of all, he seems like a nice guy, so I think he probably would come over there to freeze the balls. But
We're digressing. Is Matt Ryan back?
I will say this: I don't think he's back. I don't know, was that the professor or Mary Ann over there with that freaking advice that he just gave us?
Ooh.
I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm more with Big Red on that one. I mean, although I will say there's an outside chance he'll have a good week this week, but I just don't like him.
Mr. Marchand, is Matt Ryan back?
I guess the better question is, what is back for Matt Ryan? Now, if you're telling me, is he a legit backup on your roster? Yeah, he's there. Is he a starter for you? Absolutely not.
Well, sure, and I think the question, just to be clear, maybe I should have been more clear when I said is Matt Ryan back, is he back as a QB1?
In that case, no. Not close. Unless you're in a 14-team or a 10-team 2 QB crazy league where you're starting 20-something quarterbacks, no. He's a bench guy. He's still a bench guy. There's too many more options out there where he shouldn't be in your lineup.
Mr. Marchand, I'm going to stay with you. The loss of Keenan Allen, obviously a huge blow to San Diego. Is Phillip Rivers still an RB1?
As a Charger fan, we deserve what we got with Keenan Allen. We are a terrible franchise, and I will downgrade Phillip Rivers, but it hurts.
So after loss of Keenan Allen, you're saying Philip Rivers now an RB2.
He's a QB2 just because.
I'm sorry, QB2.
Yeah, just because I don't have a lot of faith in the rest of the guys there. I mean, if you're looking at Tyrell Williams or, Travis Benjamin, Danny Woodhead, none of those guys are elite wide receivers. He just doesn't have the targets for me.
Artis, loss of Keenan Allen, Philip Rivers become a QB2.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, he's top end QB2. But yeah, he does fall. He does fall a little bit. He has to.
Big Red, Philip Rivers now QB2.
Now, if you have to start Philip Rivers, you got pretty bad. To me, I just think he was borderline quarterback 2. I never had him as a quarterback 1. I have to downgrade him severely. To me, I just think he's going to drop a lot of loads of garbage every once in a while. It's just not worth starting on the roster.
Yeah. So you're saying you think there are going to be some Philip Rivers puts up statistically good numbers, but you just can't expect it.
Correct. 1 out of every 3 weeks, but that's atrocious. You've got some way better options out there on the waiver wire right now. To me, if you can sell Philip Rivers for a sack of beans, load it up.
Professor finishes up on Philip Rivers. I've never been in a league where we traded players for a sack of beans, but if you did do that, I guess that's fine. Professor finishes up. What does it do? What does the loss of Keenan Allen do to Philip Rivers?
Sure, it knocks him down because Keenan Allen, he's a good talent when he's on the field as a wide receiver. I think Travis Benjamin steps in and he does a fine job. Philip Rivers is still going to pass the ball 45, 50 times a game. It's just like a running back. When you get that many attempts, the statistics, they come with it. So, is he a number 1 guy? Should he be starting him? Hopefully you have a better option. But if you are, I think you can take a breath, take a step back. I think you're going to be all right.
Professor, I'm going to stay with you. Quick hitter before we go to takeaways from week 2 and looking ahead. Josh McCown, upgrade over RG3 in Cleveland?
Never take anybody from Cleveland. I said that week 1. I said that before week 1, and I'll stick to that for the rest of the year.
And I think we're all in agreement. We've said on the show the last 2 weeks, we're going to say at the end of the day, Cleveland's a dumpster fire. All guys want to stay away with. But the question is Josh McCown an upgrade over RG3? Big Red.
Well, absolutely. I honestly think Bianca's an upgrade over RG3. I mean, besides his amazing work in those Subway commercials, that's the only time I ever want to see RG3 doing anything. He's just a guy. Terrible is just a guy. We laughed at Washington when they drafted Cousins in the same draft they looked at RG3. Apparently they saw on draft day what we're all seeing right now. RG3 cannot play football. Josh McCown's an obvious upgrade because so is Bianca.
Well,
Based on that, Artis, Josh McCown, upgrade over RG3?
absolutely. Definitely an upgrade. I think he's going to help guys. One of the guys he's going to help the most, I think, is Barnage. At a tight end, I really think he's going to, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the guy was almost shut out last week. And I do think he's going to upgrade huge with McCown there. And overall, I would say, yeah, everybody's going to a little bit. It's sadly, I mean, if anybody's gonna, RG3 could throw the deep ball, and I really like Coleman there. And then when Gordon comes back, But beyond that, yeah, it's an upgrade, I think, for almost everybody, which is kind of insane, the fact that he was there and this is what's happened.
And again, guys, we're saying that Cleveland is an absolute dumpster fire. We don't want you to take anybody in Cleveland. This is just for fun. Is Josh McCown an upgrade over RG3? That's the question. Mr. Marchand, take us out of that.
He's an upgrade, but he's still a waiver wire guy. I mean, you're not going to put him on your team. Now, I'll touch on one thing. I actually think it hurts Josh Gordon in the long run. There's just not the deep ball threat out of Josh McCown. He's going to be a game manager. They're not going to take those deep threats. If you took Josh Gordon, like I did, you're hesitant to keep him now at this point. He was a stash guy, and now I just don't think that team's going to take chances down the field with him and risk turning the ball over when you're trying to game manage with Josh McCown.
Yeah, I agree exactly with you, Mr. Marchand. I think that Josh Gordon was almost a lottery ticket. You bought him and you were hoping you were going to cash it in, but you were only going to cash it in if RG3 was still at the quarterback position. With Josh McCown, that lottery ticket, it's time for that one to go in the garbage. Guys, I want to know, let's finish up with, I'm going to start with you, Professor. Takeaways from week 2 and looking ahead, your general thoughts.
There was a lot of great performances. I think we've touched on a lot of them from the wide receiver position. You got your big names, okay? You've got Antonio Brown, you've got AJ Green, who we both love very much. These guys are going to perform all year. Some of these interesting guys, the Brandon Cookses, I think he's going to be another guy moving forward that we're really going to like. We'd like the Santa or the New Orleans offense. I think that's going to be another great guy. Some of the injuries, I think TJ Yeldon is going to be another guy that we want to look at. I think we touched on that earlier. There's some guys you just got to make sure that you start to look at the waiver wire, look at your team, and it's time to start thinking about trades already.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to find out. You touched on something. I think we're going to find out a lot about the New Orleans offense this week against the Giants, though. I don't think last week's contest was a true test of what this offense can or can't be. I think this week, when they finally get a test that Giant defense is for real, I think we're going to, unlike years past, I think this year it's a much better defense. I think even if they're in the 70 points or 80 points, I could see that even being a blowout. I think the Giants win that game. Over to you, Big Red. Takeaways from week 2 and looking ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, especially just preach patience. We spent 3 months this offseason, some of us 6 because we're obsessed, on fantasy football. Prep. You did mock drafts. You read magazines. You read articles. You watched our show. You watched shows that are worse than ours. But what's important is...
I don't know that that's necessarily possible.
Hate on yourself.
At week 1...
They don't have Bianca.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, I'm
Hate on
saying our show is the best show that's out there. We're obviously the best. But what I want to look at is week 2 is really the week. Don't panic. You've got guys like AP, Gurley. They didn't do anything. We look like we're ready to sell the farm. We've got guys like Willie Snead, Will Fuller, they light the world on fire. Be patient. These guys you drafted as running back ones, it's not time to panic. I mean, yes, Gurley is playing Seattle, but after that, his schedule gets turned easy. AP started like garbage last year, and he ended up being the number 1 running back outside of Devontae Freeman. But just be patient. I would really like to see what New Orleans is going to do. I'd like to see if Detroit's legit as a hometown fan. And I'd really like to see what Arizona does with their full slew of guys back. I think that's an offense that's really underperformed last weekend, and I think bounces back.
And that's going to be a great game. I mean, they're 0-1. This is the angry team. You got an up-and-coming team. That's going to be a great battle. I'm excited about that as well. I'm going to do my takeaways based on what Big Red said. We'll go down the road. Guys, it's week 1. I have a general rule when I play fantasy football. I don't make a trade until week 3 or week 4. I really try to fill out my team. Week 1 is not a week to panic. You wouldn't do the same thing week 7. If a guy performed 6 weeks in a row and it got you points, if he fell down in week 7 and did terrible week 8, you don't immediately try to trade the guy. So why are you doing it after week 1? It's a long season. You have 13 games to make the playoffs. Relax for a minute. Wait to see what these guys are going to do. 1 week does not make a season. You can be 0-1 and you might finish 12-1. Relax and let these guys play another game before it's time to panic. Well, we're going to move on to you. Artiste, your takeaways from week 2 and looking ahead.
Well, I kind of like Jacksonville this week playing at San Diego. I think they're going to put up some big numbers. I've kind of touted Bortles. I think he's going to have a big year. I know there's some haters on Bortles, and I understand it. We'll see how it goes. But I think he's going to have a big game this week against San Diego, and I think Hearns and Allen Robinson are going to have big, maybe even Julius Thomas.
Tons of weapons there.
Yeah,
the guy has the targets.
Right.
That's got to be among the best 3 or 4 receiving core in the NFL. I mean,
I think so, and I think he's going to put up some big numbers. And I also the only other thing I like to point out is that I do really see, and again, we said this is Detroit-based show. We're Lions. Well, I think we're all Lions fans, right? But
I'm a Lions fan. Let's just say we're all well acquainted with the Lions.
Right. The professor has the Lions cap on. I do think that Delaney Walker is going to tear the Lions up this weekend. He's going to go off. The Lions can't defend a tight end to save their life. Delaney Walker will have a huge week.
Mr. Marchand.
Yep, a couple things I'm looking at. The first one is the rookie wide receiver core. There could be 6 legit rookie wide receivers this year. I mean, you're looking at Shepard, Fuller, Tajay Sharp, Coleman, Treadwell, who was benched week 1 because he's an idiot. There's a lot of rookies out there who guys might not value the way you could if you're paying attention. They're not wide receiver 1s on their teams, they're wide receiver 2s, and they're not the big names for whatever reason at the moment. They might be guys you can target after week 2. I want to see how they perform. Secondly, Lamar Miller. Want to see Lamar Miller, want to see if he continues the 20-plus touches that he's getting in Houston and in that Houston offense in general. And the last thing I want to look at is the Atlanta situation. We touched on Devontae Freeman. I've said it in the preseason, I said it in our pre-draft show. I think Tevin Coleman takes that starting job, and week 2 might be the week it happens.
And that'll be interesting. And I agree, that battle, I think the entire, everybody who plays fantasy football is watching that battle. Is it going to be Freeman? Is it going to be Coleman? Because everybody has one of the two, or they're out of their league. You know, those guys are both taken. So everybody's kind of watching what goes on there. I do like that you mentioned the young guys like Sterling Shepard. These guys might not be number 1 now, but Larry Fitzgerald wasn't number 1 until he became number 1, and on and on and on and on. I mean, that's what happens. Rookies become number 1s if you can get them early, and they do have the breakout seasons. And I agree, this year there's a tremendous crop. I mean, it's ridiculous. I haven't seen anything like this, where receivers that are rookies are going to be making such an impact.
The last time I remember is 2011 when you're talking the Julio Jones, A.J. Green draft. That crop had 5, 6 really good wide receivers. This is the same type of class.
Yep, great comparison. A couple guys we didn't touch on. Cole Beasley, wide receiver from Dallas. Prescott, 12 targets last week. Somebody might want to look at. My own personal pick. Also, Eli Rogers. They're going to double team Antonio Brown all season long. This is the guy that's going to get a ton of looks. Roethlisberger seems to trust him already, and he caught 6 to 7 targets. 2 guys I would keep an eye on as well, guys that might still be out there. For one more week, guys, win this week, and we're going to guide you every week to a championship. Make sure you tune in every Saturday. Our show should be up by noon. Leave your comments in the comment section. You can ask us any questions you want, including trades. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Win a championship.
Thanks, fellas. Cheers.